Yeah. So,
That's
how did you go from there to YouTube?
So Google Hangouts. Someone told me about Google Hangouts, and so I started doing Google Hangouts. And a very small group. I had some of the people that from my Twitter people, because I gained a pretty good following on Twitter through my Stern stuff. And
And
so then I was like,
are you making money at this point, or are you just doing it
no,
for fun?
no.
Okay.
I didn't start making. And I wouldn't even call it making money. I ran fundraisers, so. Also at this point, I would do bit shows too. Like I did a show where we called Jodi Arias in prison,
Mm-hmm.
and to have an interview with Jodi Arias, because that's when that was really big at the time. And really, what all it was is my co-host took over, and I called in as Jodi Arias. Like I disguised my voice to make it sound like I was her, and did the interview that way. Like, so that's a bit, obviously, and we made it obvious that it was a bit. People don't like it when you're trying to like pull one over on them.
Right.
We were making it obvious that it was a bit. And we would do other bits too. We did a bit. I saw a story about some dude who shot his dick off, or he didn't realize he shot his dick until it the bullet fell out of his pants or some shit. And obviously it ended up being a fake story or whatever, but we decided to take that and we're like, okay, we have the guy who shot his dick on right now to talk with us.
Mm.
And my husband would play those parts. He played Sonny D the pimp when I wanted to interview a pimp and his hoe. My co-host changed her voice to be the hoe. My husband called in as the pimp. And then I just hosted the show. And it was so much fun. My husband totally supported it. I would find out later it was because it kept me busy so he could go cheat, but that's beside the point.
Right.
But he would contribute. He was my traffic guy. He was Gridlock, the traffic man, who would give us retarded ass traffic reports. So he definitely contributed a lot to my shows, and he absolutely supported them. But once he left, this all played out. And I would go on Google I never did a hangout unless I had at least 10 people ask me, are you going to be on Hangouts? Because I didn't want to be on there doing nothing to nobody. And I would put my link out there for Hangouts on Twitter, whatever. And you never knew who was going to drop in. And so I'd go live through Hangouts I would live stream to YouTube. And we started doing Kicking It with Crystal and Janella. That's still a YouTube channel that's up. And we would just talk to people. Anybody who popped in, we would just talk to them. And I started live streaming. I figured out how to simulcast Elisa Jordana's show through Hangouts. And so because her and I were at war, because I didn't like the way she was running her show, I didn't like how she used people. I didn't like how she led special needs people on to make them think that, they were going to be together or whatever. I didn't like the fact that she steps on people for content. And embarrasses them, she humiliates them, or lets them. She doesn't even really add anything. She would have this panel, and she would rely on people coming up on the panel, and she would let her chat trigger them, so they would have this meltdown on cam, and she would just sit there and she would just facilitate that. And I just felt like that was just, it wasn't right. I had a lot of people that I cared about. They would go on there, and she would just like fucking shit all over them, and they'd have a really bad experience. So, she was talking shit on me, and I would simulcast her show and I'd steal her audience. And so like one of my people would go over in her chat and spam the shit out of her chat with my Google, my link on YouTube. And so people, it created this really big like war between us. It was Elisa Jordana versus me. And before that, like I had been part of her show. After the fiasco of the bit that that she ran into the ground, I eventually came back on as me. And I would take little digs at her that the chat would pick up on, and she would just be like oblivious to. And I would just like low key talk shit, and she would just say, but her and I, oddly enough, had a really good chemistry on screen. Like I got her to like loosen up more. And people did enjoy seeing us on screen together, but Elisa cannot have anybody anywhere near her level of what she perceives to be her level of quality, I guess you could say. I don't hold a candle to her looks wise, obviously, but as far as entertainment value, and being able to captivate, command the attention of an audience and stuff like that, I do match her, at least match her. And so she doesn't really like, the attention being taken from her.
Right.
But then she fucking put me on blast about something that I asked her not to talk about because I was doing it for my own show. And so like that, I was like, this is stupid. And so, and then she wrote a song about me called A Bitch Named Crystal because she got mad that a mutual friend of ours would not talk shit on me while on her show. And so she wrote a song called A Bitch Named Crystal. So I started impersonating her, by doing put bright red lipstick on, heavy makeup. And I wrote a song. Then she did a song called an apology song, apologizing to all the people that she pissed off, which wasn't it ended up being a very backhanded apology that insulted us all at the same time. So I ended up making You Are a Cunt. And we literally were fighting like we were in a musical. Like that was the war. It was, she would hit with the song and then I'd hit back with the song.
Yeah.
But I would be on at night. I'd put the kids to bed and then I, would go on. And sometimes it would just be me. There would be other people in the hangouts, but it would be me in a dark room, laying on my bed, bawling my eyes out, just burying my soul. And because I just became a mom overnight, single mom overnight. And now I've got these 2 broken fucking kids that want their dad. And their dad is now public enemy #1 and not allowed at the house. And he's not around. And it's terrifying. And I'm trying to figure out like what I did wrong. And I'm blaming myself and he's blaming, and so I'm like having these nervous breakdowns, these emotional breakdowns where I'm just blah, putting it all out there. And people are watching and they're just going on the ride with me. And it's turned out to be a very action-packed, scandalous ride that is we're still on.